And I'm Vanessa Nova, and welcome to the Cosmic Conduit podcast.
So we have a wonderful set of conversations here today. So we're going to be working with the Leo and Aquarius axis. So these are counterpart signs that influence one another. So in the course of Leo sun season, right, we will have actually a full moon in Aquarius, because we have, that's kind of one of the ways that those counterpart signs work. So we're going to dive into what that relationship is all about. But first of all, let's review what is Leo energy all about? So Vanessa, how have you been experiencing Leo so far? So we're a little bit into the Leo season, and you have some Leo in your chart. What's your world of Leo like?
Well, actually, it's been pretty exciting. Like, things have been expanding for me, and I'm feeling more creative and inspired. And, I think I talked about in the last episode that I do have a creative performing art background, as do you. And the thing is with me is, like, it's not always something that's like been consistently in my life. It's sort of cyclical. And so at the moment, I'm feeling a lot of inspiration to get back into music and to show up in these other creative ways that I'm really passionate about, but they're not always like, I don't always have the energy or the inspiration to like focus on those things. So those things are coming up in a big way for me, and I'm really excited about that. What about you?
You know what? I was just like in reflection with somebody, and I was like, Vanessa's on fire right now. And it was like a flip switch, where it was like all of a sudden, like, Leo energy entered the planet, and here's Vanessa like churning out here and over there. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. And, and like you said, it's not one of your main, your big three signs, right? But you do have some Leo in your chart. And as we've been talking all along, just because you do or don't have, one particular zodiacal sign in your chart doesn't mean you can't access the energy and use it as it's present, either during the cycle of the sun or the cycle of the moon, or just whenever you want to call it in for yourself. So that's really what this series is about. And the Cosmic Conduit work is, in general, is how can we be more masterful at just grabbing hold of these energies and working with them in a way that really helps us create the life that we want.
Right.
Yeah. So for me,
Yeah.
So Leo, it's interesting. It's kind of been a deeper set of learnings for me. I don't have a lot of Leo directly, a little bit sprinkled in there, but definitely feeling the fire energy and the creativity and just the fun and playfulness of summer. Definitely this desire. Actually, one of the things I'm looking at right now is getting an animal companion. I want a furry friend.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah, we have cats that live in our house, which I love the cats, but they're not really mine. They're kind of more my kids and my husband's. I don't feed them, so they don't really pay attention to me. So I'm actually looking at getting a little canine friend. And it's funny because this dog that we are actually been getting to know is very Leo-like. He's very regal, and he's very, like, holds himself, examining everything, but really excited to engage and be loving and be friendly and be playful. And so I feel like that's a big way that this Leo energy is really showing up for me right now.
Yeah, I mean, what's fascinating is because we're really working with these archetypes ourselves in our own lives, we are learning so much, both of us, and reflecting those lessons and that magic together. So that's been an amazing part of this journey, is that it's just showing up in life, in a really powerful way.
Totally. And I mean, that's actually what motivates me with this work, right? Is like, ooh, what are the deep nuggets that we're going to get to experience and explore for ourselves? And, and then you and I get to know so much about what's coming through as we're in reflection with one another and preparing this series. And, especially coming into the ceremonies, right? So every month we do a ceremony online, a self ceremony. So guided self ceremony is what we call it. Working with the energies at play. So we're super exciting for Leo because we have this Lion's Gate that we're going to get to work with, this energy coming in, this portal of 8/8. And so that's where we actually learn more about how to utilize the energy. What can we actually do to make it be more user-friendly for us in our lives, whatever this energy is presenting. So yeah.
Yes. So let's talk about, a little bit more review, because the anchor for the new paradigm with Leo is courageous brilliance. And we really broke that down in the last episode, but it's about shining the light of your pure self-expression without any attachment, without any, like egotism. It's just being simply the brilliance of who you are and sharing that in the world and having the courage to do that in an authentic way. So that's something that we can all use, especially, as light workers, as healers, as people that want to make a difference in the world. We have the responsibility to show up with our best.
I mean, to be a little bit, not exactly tongue in cheek or a little bit crude, it's kind of like being naked on stage. That's kind of what that courageous brilliance is, right? When you stripped away all of the masks, all the costuming, we talked about this in the last episode, and just really willing to be there, kind of exposed, and not literally naked, but energetically, emotionally, from these perspectives of really showing the truth of who you are, really being vulnerable and authentic, because authenticity is a vulnerable space. And I think sometimes we don't always understand that, immediately when you say like, oh, I'm going to be authentic or authentically express yourself. It means doing it in a way where you're not guarding at any level, which means you're not hiding at any level, which means you don't have any masks or filters. It's just straight up you.
And that takes a lot of work, actually. And it takes a lot of courage to get to that place, because let's face it, all of us do have insecurities and, subconscious fears or programs, or even just like things that we think about ourselves that aren't even true or conscious. And so in order to actually come to the place where you can be authentic and vulnerable, you have to do the work of knowing yourself, and still come to the table with like, okay, yeah, I'm not perfect, but here is me unapologetically with the best of who I am. And that process is, of course, like always something that's evolving. Like if we don't want to get stagnant, we want to keep growing and changing. And we talked about in the last episode as well some of the shadows of Leo, this energy, right?
Yeah. Well, and one thing I want to note before we go there is, this term brilliance. I said it with the last episode too, that, we use that term when we're talking about gemstones, specifically diamonds, right? What is the brilliance level? And I love that analogy because it's like, when the light shines in and allows that refraction, that's what shows the incredible beauty, the brilliance of that stone and the quality of it. It's measured in how does that refraction of light go out. And so you can't shine that brilliance if the gemstone, if that diamond if that jewel is covered, like it's not going to work. If it's being masked, if it's being hidden, if it's being obstructed, if it's being obscured, that there's no way for that brilliance to come through. And so that's, like you were mentioning, the work that we have to do. It's really like polishing that jewel so that, each facet. So maybe some are easy, maybe it's easy to express, certain aspects of the authentic self, but then other places might feel a little bit edgier or feel a little bit more vulnerable or a little bit less safe. And that's where we do the work of finding how to create safety or to create a way to express ourselves that feels grounded and clear and effective and safe. And so we can allow that light to shine through and not feel like we have to pull it back in or hide or play small, which is one of the things we mentioned as a shadow of Leo is playing small or not willing to be seen.
Right. And I think a lot of the shadows that we're looking at with Leo are, insecurity. It's like
Yeah.
that, it's like playing small. So, like when you look at insecurity, it can come across in two ways. It can cause you to just play small, or like, oh, I'm not good enough, so I'm just going to stay in my corner and I'm not going to show up. And then on the other side of that, insecurity can show up as like, oh, well, I'm just so much better than everybody else. And I'm going to put on a big show so that I can get all of the outside validation that I'm seeking to actually just make me feel better and make me feel better about my insecurities, or, just placate my ego. And these are the kinds of shadows that we want to overcome with Leo, is like the egotism, the self-centeredness. And there's a balance in that, because we do want to be able to like be the center of our own universe, but at the same time, we're not the only center of the only universe.
Yes, I love this so much. And so, going back to that jewel analogy, it's like, you used the phrase, not good enough, or, sometimes that insecurity comes from not feeling worthy. How in the world can a diamond not be known, not understand its value, right? Or not be good enough? It's the epitome. It's the peak of all the gemstones. But that's kind of the situation that we're in. We don't know our own value. We don't know our own worth. We don't know our own brilliance. And so that is literally what Know Thyself is about, is knowing the truth of your incredible beingness, who you really are. And so, so just with going along with your analogy, that shadow side of Leo being like, okay, I'm not willing to show the gem that I am. Do I have one of my gemstones here? I would love to just give you this visual, which okay, I do. I'm going to grab it 1 second. So let's say we have this beautiful faceted stone, right? That's like ready to shine, so many amazing things. And this stone is like, not good enough, not willing, not wanting to, I want to hide. And so instead, like, oh, I'm going to go out there covered in this, and then try to get external validation as a functional, whatever, water bottle cap. And like, it's so kind of ridiculous, because why in the world would we want to engage as something that is so not who we really are, when we have all of this amazingness underneath? And that's really the work of how can we find that deeper connection to the true self, to the authentic me, so that I can express it and feel that confidence in doing so. And that's really where the courage comes in, and where we can tap the other, the counterpart energy for Leo, which is Aquarius. And so I have here on my altar, you can see, so Leo, the tarot trump there is strength, which we talked about in the last episode. And then for Aquarius, it's actually the star. I love this tarot.
I've got mine here too.
And because, it's so much is this jewel, right? It's so much is like, it's like taking what we have within, that genius that is within, that brilliance, and then having it be something that is refracted and reflected out into the stars. So you've got quite a bit of Aquarius in your world, Vanessa. What else do you want to say here about this relationship between these two?
Well, let's talk about Aquarius for a little bit here, because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. So it's like the planet that comes in and shakes everything up and shows all of these new possibilities. It's a planet of innovation. So Aquarius, and we're in the age of Aquarius right now. So we're seeing all of this revolution and evolution in society and consciousness. And the sign of Aquarius is all about humanity. It's a humanitarian sign. It wants to make an impact. It wants to do things for the greater good and change everything from this sort of visionary place in the future, right? So when we think about this relationship between Aquarius and Leo, so we look at Leo and it can be self-centered, it can be prideful, it can be like, okay, I'm the center of the universe, but I'm the only center of the only universe, and it's all about me. And that can also come from a place that's like insecure or just like self-serving. And what Aquarius can do here is say, hey, no, look, there's a whole possibility. Like you're so powerful as, Leo, hey, Leo, you're so powerful and have so much of this like bright light to share. What are you going to do with it? Because look, there's a whole, not just your own universe, there's whole like countless cosmic realities and universes and consciousness. Because Aquarius is like this multi-dimensional quantum intelligence.
Yeah.
So it's saying, hey, look, you're so powerful. Not only can you, be the center of your own universe and shine for that, but look at all of the good you can do if you actually expand into all of the other possibilities that are available. So that's the quantum ingenuity that Aquarius can show for Leo.
I love it, Vanessa. I could just sit here all day and listen to you talk about this energy because it's so amazing. And what I want to add in here is every time I tap Aquarius energy, it feels so beautiful. Like it feels like galactically beautiful, like, which really is the stars, which is why I think I love, this tarot card so much, because it refers to that quantum understanding of things, that quantum intelligence that you were just referring to. And it's like, Aquarius tells us we can tap that, we can engage that degree of brilliance and intelligence that exists beyond earth plane, that exists beyond, our sort of human mindsets, and we can tap this higher mind and we can make it part of what we do. And so I love this, this relationship, because if you're struggling with like how to be comfortable being on stage, how to be comfortable with that light shining on you as Leo, right? And so by tapping this, this frequency, this quantum ingenuity of Aquarius, and allowing it to kind of just like filter in like starlight, like it just, and then it informs the entire expression of how, that Leo performance, being on stage, how that all comes together.
I love it. And I get really excited every time we talk about like, okay, let's take these concepts, let's take these principles, and let's put them and apply them into the new paradigm. Like, what would the world look like if more people were really shining these two principles in balance in their lives? It would look like people who are leaders and who are willing to show up and they're willing to take the responsibility and have, their charisma and magnetism be used for a greater good, for the good of all. And like Aquarius brings in that visionary place. So like, that's exciting, because it's like taking the leadership and then bringing it to a place where it's just like changing the face of how we do things and how we see ourselves in the world.
Oh my gosh, I love that you brought that piece in, because it's one of my favorite questions. Like, what would the world look like if people were living this way? And the other thing, you said about Aquarius that is so important here is that it is a humanitarian sign. It's not really self-serving in that way. Like, yes, when we go to the, Aquarius era, chapter season, we'll dive into more of the challenges and shadow aspects of Aquarius. So, it does have shadow sides to it, but it tends to have the whole as its focus, whereas Leo tends to have the self as its focus. And so, that's where those two can really balance each other out. And so I love that, there's a harmony that comes in with Aquarius energy too. Like there's a collective where it's like that quantum ingenuity isn't necessarily about your individual genius and my individual genius and anyone else. It's like, what happens when we bring it together? Like, where's the constellation of you as the star and me as the star and whoever else we're working with, and those stars coming together to create a whole new pattern? And then and then allowing that Leo energy to kind of be the conduit, the the expression, the mouthpiece, the instrument through which that ingenuity comes through, and we can bring the quantic cosmic connections here into physicality, into earth plane, into our daily lives.
That's so good. I love these conversations that we have, because like while we're sitting here, I always get like these visions and these like sort of downloads of possibilities. Like, I'm thinking about the idea or concept of royalty, and we talked about that in our last conversation. And I think that in in our modern world, the idea of royalty, it's distorted, and there's not really understood, and they think that there's a lot of negative connotations about royalty, because we think of maybe like a dictator or like a tyrannical leader, like a lot of our political leaders in the world today, and over like all of these decades of history, it's like these sort of self-serving motives. And even when we think about war and politics and international relations, it's like this country against this country. And that's caused for thousands of years so much strife and death and famine and really terrible things on this planet. But what if we could infuse the whole concept of leadership and taking on the responsibility for the people?
Yeah.
And that humanitarian, let's think about the whole good of all, and then take that into leadership. Like, that's the new paradigm that I want to live in.
Yes. So good. And I wanted to share a little bit about some of where I'm personally dealing with this challenge, right, of like showing up and willing to be seen, and all of this Leo kind of stuff that we have happening. And I think it really ties into what you just said about people misunderstanding this quality of royalty. And I think people think of it as like an institution, right? They think about the institution of royalty and like, oh, the royal line, the royal household, the royal whatever. And that's not really the point. The point is that it really is what we've been talking about with Leo, that courageous brilliance, to be willing to be at the center of your life, to, like you said in our last episode, to be the main character in your life, to be the one who is the lead role. And then so that's just kind of Leo on its own. But when we add in Aquarius, that star, the crown, that connection to the jewel, the diamond, right? The true essence of your divine nature, it like up levels that expression of Leo. So being the center of your world and wearing that crown of royalty, wearing that connection to the heavens, that's what the crown is about. It emphasizes your crown chakra, and then becomes like, a means by which you can tune in and reach higher. So, you think about all the gems and jewels in a crown, it's like, that's exactly part of what they're doing, right? Is allowing, it's a whole like tuning device. And so really it's like, how can I be better at living from this place, and drawing it back around to this piece about service, because that's ultimately where we're at with the new paradigm, and thinking of the greater whole is, to be on stage, to allow our light to shine, to bring it to that higher level. The whole point is service. And that royalty piece isn't about like, ooh, look at me, I'm so great, I've got all the coolest stuff, and I'm,
right,
the one you should aspire to, but rather I'm in service to the people in my life, to those that are part of my kingdom or queendom or my domain or my arena. And so it really, this piece that we're working with here is just so juicy and relevant, I think, for so many, and definitely for me at this moment.
yes. Well, I hope you don't mind if I like just insert here a little plug for some of the things that we do that I think are really, really helpful, in starting this journey and breaking through to the place where you have the confidence to show up and you have the connection to your spiritual self that you need. Like, namely, the first one is life activation. And the second one is empower thyself initiation, like initiation into a mystery school lineage. And so, like, these are the two biggest power tools that we have. Like, Vila, you and I have like many, many, many tools on our table, right? But I think these are the number one and two things that are like absolutely essential for helping you start to do this work and break through. Would you like, do you want to say more about that? Like life activation?
Um, yeah, everybody should get one. That's what I have to say. um, it's a tool that turns on your DNA. And so like everything we've been talking about with that jewel, it's like, how do you activate all these different facets? How do you give yourself access? If you've only been used to like, expressing yourself through one or two, how do you get the others online? And that's exactly what the life activation session does. We actually go through 12 multidimensional quantum receptor sites that turn on the DNA and give you access to so much more of who you are and what you're here to do, what you're uniquely designed to do, because that's the point of the DNA, is that it's the blueprint. It's what then gets replicated and shows, and makes the external, final version of you that's out in there in the world. That's the blueprint of it, at that cellular level.
Right. And then there's Empower Thyself, which is 2 days, and it's a training, and you're getting so many tools and so much teachings that really are designed to change your actual energy structure so that you can hold this frequency, this vibration of your own divinity. And so that really changes the way you see yourself, and it changes the way you connect to spirit and connect to the divine. And so like it really is so connected to everything that we are talking about in this series, and that all of the work that we do is like the process of alchemy, of really refining that jewel and bringing more light in and showing up more fully to serve. Because if you're in any way spiritual or being called to this podcast, there is a piece of you that's saying to yourself, that your soul is crying out saying, I want to live my purpose. I want to make a difference. I want to make an impact. I want to help people. So that's all of what we're doing here, is like giving you those tools and the understanding to do that.
Totally. And, I want to circle back around, because I was saying, this is such a piece that I've been, is really up for me in my personal journey. And, I described it a little bit earlier as like embracing my inner diva or being willing to allow, my inner diva to come out. And, and one of the things that happens with the Empower Thyself initiation is it's an expansion. So it's, we talk about it literally as like 10 times the light, 10 times the power coming through. And so when we're saying like, let's let that light shine through, the jewel and light up all of these different facets, when you have 10 times the light, 10 times the power coming through, there's so much more to work with. There's so much more to work with to clean off each of those facets, to do that work we were talking about earlier. And for me, what I have found is that I am a very particular jewel, like I'm, starting to sort of own more of the refined qualities that are true for me. And so I think, some of what I've been dealing with is, having some of these facets obscured, where I'm like, I feel fine about, maybe half of it. I'm like, oh yeah, this half is fine. But this half, oh no, I don't know, which is what we would refer to as like shadow work, or doing your own inner exploration and, and know thyself really. And so, but there's been some things that I just haven't wanted to fully own, like I don't like that part, like, ooh, that feels a little too edgy, or a little too particular, or a little too needy, or a little too demanding. And I don't like that, and so then I've been trying to kind of keep that hidden, and it's not really working for me to be able to be a true instrument for what I'm here to bring. Because if the truth is, I'm super particular and super refined and super sensitive in all these areas, if that's the truth of my being, me hiding it and pretending to be something else isn't doing anything, as far as how I can use it to serve. And so, what I'm finding that I love about, this Aquarius energy coming in is it's helping inspire me to like sort of relax into that refined aspect, to relax into that sensitivity, to relax into that particularity and trust it. So I feel like this quantum ingenuity is something to like, it's not my ingenuity necessarily. It's kind of like cosmic ingenuity too. And so resting into that higher intelligence that you were referring to, and then willing to play the part in my life of the diva, you know, like, yes, I am particular. Like, no, I don't want most of what's out there. You know, I'm very selective. And so really seeing that as a strength and a gift that I can help you know, I can give to people and be of service in that way, instead of feeling like it's an imposition or something difficult that I have to then wrestle with and everybody around me is irritated by or whatever. And, you know, there's so many examples of specifically in Leo, you know, people who have, you know, fully owned their diva-ness or, you know, that energy and that are really doing great things for the world, you know, and we can go through a whole list of how that shows up, but it's not necessarily easy for those of us where Leo is not a huge, you know, natural part of our, you know, our expression.
And you're doing the work. And so thanks, you know, thanks for that share, which is a little, you know, a little vulnerable, but the beauty of this work and the path that you and I have both been on for, you know, combined like several decades, right? We've been doing this work for a long time. And at the same time, we are always like at the precipice of like another breakthrough and so much more learning and so much more that we're learning about ourselves. Like, even though that we've been kind of on that trajectory for a really long time, like I haven't really had a plateau, you know, I mean, I'm still going, I'm still learning, I'm still breaking through, even though like, you know, I've done a lot in the past. And I mean, it's just like exciting to know that we as people who want to help others, like we're still learning too, and we're still doing the work too.
Yes, thanks for saying that, because it's such an important, you know, truth of what the path is, you know, and it is a path, it's a journey, it's a process. You know, when we talk about the cosmic conduit, it's us, we're the cosmic conduit, you know, it's each one of us becoming this instrument. And I love how we really landed on it here, I think, with you know, with this Aquarius Leo combination. And I'm so excited to see what's gonna come through for us with this Lionsgate portal ceremony that we have on the calendar. So you are all invited to join us in this, because we do learn so much from each other, with each other, alongside each other. You know, I mean, there's so much of all of this, like I could never do without you, Vanessa. Like the way we amplify and reflect and refract one another, like as I was saying before, you know, like your courageous brilliance and the jewel and the diamond that you are, and then what I bring, and then all, you know, the rest of you who join us in ceremony, we're going to get to reflect and refract that light and make something amazing happen for ourselves and for the world, because we are repatterning these archetypal expressions through the way we live.
Yeah, so much. I'm so happy that we're doing this work together. And, you know, like it's something that we both have been envisioning for a really long time, to be able to create a community like this. And we're doing it. And we really invite you to come and do magic with us, to transcend. And we're holding a space that's safe. You know, it's a safe space to really explore these higher aspects of yourselves and ultimately to embody them. Because you know, this isn't conceptual. This isn't necessarily, you know, yes, you're listening to us, you're watching our podcast, you're grasping certain insights, but really this is meant to be lived. So, you know, both through our online ceremonies, membership community, and through our one-on-one work in person that we can do, you know, we have so many tools to share with you. And I feel really honored that we do.
Absolutely. So please, if any of what we've said today has, you know, pinged you or lit something up or kind of made you go, whoa, wait a minute, please reach out. You know, please join our online community. University for the Soul is where we land online. And we have the Cosmic Conduit work that's happening inside that network. So we do the monthly gatherings. We have ongoing conversations that happen there. And then we have our in-person work. And, you know, we have an immersion program that you are invited to join us for. So it's in person. We do 5 days and we dive into all of those tools that Vanessa was, you know, highlighting for us earlier. So we'd love to have you shining your unique light and bringing your courageous brilliance and all of the quantum ingenuity that is part of your DNA makeup into our community and to the world.
Well, thanks so much for listening, everyone. Hope to see you and work with you soon.